Welcome, everybody. You're listening to Out Comes the Sun radio podcast, and we are so excited. I'm Mariel Hemingway. I'm with my best friend, Melissa Yamaguchi, and we are here. We have such a cool show for you today. We are speaking to a wonderful doctor and somebody who's becoming a friend, but he's extraordinary. And I think he really is going to talk about things that just as human beings we're interested in, because I think ultimately we all want to be the best versions of ourselves. At least I'd like to think that we would. And I think that what our guest, and his name is Dr. Howard Cohn, and he has the Cohn Health Institute down in Costa Mesa. And he is a chiropractor. He does something called NET, which is neuro emotional technique, and he does physiology, and in his health institute they're doing acupuncture and foot baths and the stuff that is kind of new, but it's not new, right? So it's stuff that's been around actually for centuries, and you certainly know about that. I mean, doing feng shui, people probably think, oh my god, this is so weird. No, it's been around for centuries.
Yeah, for thousands of years. And if they say to me, Melissa, feng shui, and I go, that's new, but feng shui's been around for a long time. But I like that Dr. Cohn, after you've seen him, he's in Costa Mesa, California, like you said, and after you've seen him, I've listened to you talk about the different treatments. It's a holistic approach. It is taking you as the whole and the whole person. And some, the whole is greater than the sum of our parts. Taking all of you and bringing all of you together to make you whole. And I really like this approach. I think it's respectful. I think that it really honors the spirit, the mind, the emotions, the muscles, the memory, every single thing about the body. And we are moving machines that need to be honored as such. So I love it. I love his approach. I can't wait to learn more from him.
Absolutely. And it just reminds me that the things that we're doing, like, as you know, at our stratosphere kind of location, but we have something called the fifth element. And that's what we're trying to create, is things like what he's doing at the Cohn Institute. We want to do these things that seem like they're just lifestyle things, but lifestyle is how we live our lives, right?
Yep.
And most people don't know how to live a healthy life because we're not taught. And I think it's a shame, especially with our kids. When I think about our kid, some of our youth, they weren't taught how to eat. Now there's no more gym in public schools. There's no more movement. Like, there's all these things that we grew up with that we have to reteach our youth now. So I'm excited about just sharing the possibilities of creating a healthier world by who we connect with.
It's exposing people to what they didn't know was possible. And that's the most exciting thing, I think, in any platform, on any department, any subject. When you're exposed to something that you didn't realize was possible or was still available, it's amazing. It's amazing.
It's so amazing. Anyway, so don't go anywhere, because next we have Dr. Howard Cohn. He is amazing. So come right back. Welcome back, everybody. I'm so excited about Dr. Howard Cohn. First of all, because I've been to him as a patient, and also he's been to the stratosphere space, which was really cool. And thirdly, and Melissa doesn't know this yet, when he met let's just call him my husband. When he met my husband, they literally grew up like within
minutes.
Mile.
5 minutes.
And this is why the conversation is over now.
So funny.
We got thrown out of the same places.
Yeah, I mean, literally for like an hour, they were like, "Do you know that? You remember this place? Yeah, there was sawdust on the ground, and everybody was wasted. And how many times did you go there? Did you get hit there?" I was like, "Hit? What?" It was very funny. It was very funny and quite sweet and quaint. And anyway, he's not here, so
Okay.
thank God, because we'll have something to talk about. Anyway, I want everybody who's listening to realize that Howard, you're an amazing doctor in my book, because I think, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, I think that functional medicine, I think that's partially what you do. You're offering just a variety of different things, which is such a big belief of ours, that it's lifestyle, it's everything you do. You know, I think I've told you about our 7 doctors: Dr. Sun, Dr. Air, Dr. Water, Dr. Exercise, Dr. Nutrition, Dr. Earth, and Dr. Rest. And you kind of incorporate into your health institute a lot of that, the idea that what we do, the simple things that we do, from how we wake up in the morning, all of it, you know, incorporates our well-being and our health. But sometimes you have to get to the root of things. And I'd love for you to talk about, because one of the things that you're brilliant at, and I've actually never met anybody who can muscle test the way that you do. You're so good at it. It's bizarre, because usually I'm sitting there with my arms super tired. Like when I'm like, oh God, okay, can I use the other arm? But you're like a genius at it. But I'd love for you to explain to people what it is when you talk about NET, and that's neuro emotional technique. Am I correct? Explain
Yes.
what
Spot
that
on.
is, because I think that's your genius. I think there are many genius parts of you, but that's one of your great geniuses.
Well, and so cool to be here with you and Melissa. So I'm thrilled to just really share what I'm passionate about. You know, it all is born out of something called applied kinesiology, is what you were describing as muscle testing or muscle function testing. And depending on what somebody's introduction to that is, could be the most miraculous thing they've ever seen in their life. Or, wow, that was weird, I'm not sure if I'm going to do that again. And like so many things in life, it really is, you know, all about presentation, really how you see it. You know, when I first saw it demonstrated, I actually walked out. I thought it was a bunch of crap, you know, because you know, always kid around being from New York, like Bobby, right? I mean, I think we were born, we come out of the womb with our arms crossed, you know, so it was like our opinion and our opinion. And so, and if it's outside those 9 dots and we weren't growing up with it, and, you know, I never saw it before, then it must be not real. And what I realized was that as I was becoming a doctor, that people were standing in line to see people that did this stuff. And I had 2 opportunities at that time. One is to keep feeding my ego and pretend to be right, that it was weird, and or it looked weird, or really just deep dive and take a look at it and realize that, you know what, these cases that people are seeing and the miracles they're having happen and what they're telling people and the results they're getting are directly coming from the information they're getting through this muscle testing thing. And I got to tell you, 35 years later doing it, it still looks exactly as weird. And it never gets old. Every time, you know, I saw a couple new patients today. I mean, every time somebody sees it, it's dumbfounding, yet you can't deny the changes that happen in your body and mind when you get it done, especially using advanced techniques, if you will, with it. I mean, because everyone's walked by a booth at a health show, seeing somebody hold an arm up and, like you said, cranking their arm to get the result that they wanted to help sell their vitamin supplement or their tool or device or, you know, foot insert or whatever they were doing at that day. That is not the best use of that. You know, that is not even an accurate use of it. It's not a fortune telling thing. It's not any of that. It's basically a window in to get information about your body. Everything that's ever happened to you in your life is stored in your body, both physically, nutritionally, biochemically, mental, emotionally, and there's a blueprint of it. And we can access that information and we can help modulate how it affects your body. And so that's really what it comes down to. I mean, the first rules of healthcare and medicine is, above all, do no harm. And really the whole goal of that and what that means is if you could just identify the interference and remove the interference, and the body takes over and heals itself. And yet it's evolved in not just medicine, but functional medicine, all these things, to really a glorified way of just manipulating the body rather then allowing it to act brilliantly as it was designed. So NET is really on the emotional side of health. There's the physical, nutritional, emotional. And basically, it's kind of like when people's experience of it is like as if they had 6 months of therapy in a minute. Now it's not therapy. It's really the physiology of emotions that has nothing to do with psychology or psychiatry or any of those things. Those are fine, but they're more outside in. They're not necessarily things that are visceral that you can access in a minute in a system like this, and then have a physiological profound change, both physically, emotionally, physiologically. That's measurable pre and post to getting NET done. I mean, it's advanced so much now that there are now, I think there's at least 30 something studies on NET that are in peer reviewed journals. There was some with pre and post functional MRI changes to your brain where you could actually see real time your brain change before and after one treatment with NET. And it even made Grey's Anatomy this year or last year. So now we know it's
Now we can authenticate it.
I know,
Yes.
exactly. You know what I find interesting about this is that yes, it's an emotional thing, but the emotions is where we store everything, right? So any emotional, because having worked with you, you'll find something that happened in the birth canal, like did this happen at birth? Did this happen?
My cranium's hurting.
Whatever. And the interesting thing is our bodies will take information from whatever time at childhood, pre-childhood, pre-birth, whatever, and store it. And then all of a sudden, you get older in your life and then your body manifests some, whatever, some symptom, some physical symptom, some issue that has nothing to do with the physical. Well, it does, because that's where it's manifesting, but then it really started at this core level. And I just find that fascinating and so cool, because I do believe in frequency and, and all these different things that really, I think is the future of medicine.
Yeah, it's so cool to see. I mean, for people to ground in what we're talking about, it's really simple. How emotions work is what you don't express, you'll repress till it expresses as disease or dysfunction. And as we say, your old friend Woody Allen used to say, I never get angry, I just grow a tumor. Meaning if I don't get my shit out, it stays in until it comes out as something ugly, either a health problem or a behavior. And that's really most people's lives. And it's not new. It's from 5,000 years of Chinese medicine that has identified that different organs or organ meridians have different emotions related to it. So if someone's angry and frustrated and storing aggression, it's going to affect their liver. If they're resentful, it's going to affect their gallbladder. If they have low self-esteem and hopelessness, it's going to affect their pancreas. If they have sadness and grief, it's going to affect their lungs. And so for literally centuries, it's been observed that you can predict what health issues someone's going to get based on what emotions they're holding on to and they won't let go, and vice versa. What's really going on in somebody's psyche based on what problems they're having with what specific part of their body. And then so it was brought to life when it was coupled with the observations of Ivan Pavlov. And if we remember, Pavlov was the guy who did the dog studies where he held the meat in front of the dogs, made the dogs drool, rang a bell. Then he eventually took the meat away and just kept ringing the bell, and the dogs became conditioned. He coined the term conditioned response. The dogs would continue to drool until they figured it out. And they go, even with their small dog brains, they said, this is kind of dumb. There's just this old guy with a beard ringing a bell. Maybe we should stop drooling. And that's what they call extinction. It doesn't mean the dogs died. It means they said, hey, this is dumb, and we stopped. So, and the difference is humans, though. We will drool our whole life away. And we have all these metaphors for it. Like, he pushed my buttons, she pulled my strings. You don't understand. They did it to me. And there's all these times in our lives where we've given our power up to authority, which is mother, father, teacher, preacher, and everyone along the way that we thought had our best interests in mind and may not always have. So that is like the foundational premise. And Pavlov was a physiologist, not a psychologist. He believed that emotions were really physiological, and the conscious mind needed something to talk about. So they created all those other things where we just sit and talk about it forever. And maybe we luck out and somebody has an epiphany or a catharsis, and they go, oh my God, I'm the most amazing therapist in the world, 6 months to 6 years later, where you see change in a minute. So, prior to the world losing its mind a few years ago with the COVID, whatever it was, we did a health class here every week where we would do demonstrations where we'd take people out of the audience who are the most messed up, and we would show them in minutes that you can change whatever they thought they couldn't cure, what they couldn't change, what they'd have to live with forever, within 3 minutes by tracing out the emotional thing that was fueling it, where they gave their power up to an event that seeded that health issue.
I'm interested because you brought up Chinese medicine, and I teach feng shui. And so I know that when I'm teaching feng shui, it's this 4,000 plus year science. I have to really bring it in because when it was originated, the emperor didn't have the electronics, right? So I'm constantly adjusting and manipulating it with what's happening to us now. So in that vein, my question for you is, we have changed and morphed so drastically, even in the last, to your point, since 2020, in the last 4 years, we've changed and morphed in ways that I still see remnants of people behaving in certain ways based on what they were conditioned for during that time. So in your line of work, knowing that the body really would like to heal itself, and I know that posture and modality and function and all these things roll into this, and with the advent of Zoom and the texting and everything that's coming on, when people are more sedentary than ever, is your work, I don't want to say harder, is it a different challenge than it was even 5 years ago, 10 years ago when you were working?
Oh, absolutely. It's definitely different. I used to say that half my day was doing nothing more than fixing medically induced problems. Now it's the majority of my day. And not to really throw the whole medical profession under the bus. God forbid if I was run over by a bus, I would want to be in front of the best trauma surgeon real time. Yet outside of emergency medicine, burn units, that's the heroics and amazement of medicine. That's why every TV show you've ever seen since you were a child celebrates those things. But there's no shows about, the OB giving hysterectomies on Friday so they can play golf on Saturday morning. There's none of that. The people getting, have their ribs split open, getting bypass surgeries when maybe they could have been educated differently. So it's definitely a different world, because a lot of times in our clinic, the average person who comes here has been to like 12 to 14 doctors for whatever their health issue is. Mm-hmm. And so by the time they get in or got off the waiting list and got in, they've been a lot of places, they've done a lot of things. So first we got to sift through the cloud cover, if you will. They're on a variety of different medications. They may be down a few body parts and organs removed, at the Hail Mary of trying to fix whatever they had going on. They may have things cut up and cut out. So we're, like you are, doing the best you can with the resources you have. Like you said, you do not, back in the feng shui days of old, have to course correct for full spectrum lighting not being a thing. You know what I mean?
That's right.
Now we have all different things and grid patterns and, all of that comes into play. So, it's a big deal. So yes, it's definitely changed. And so, what we say is that we can't run from it. I used to be, like 20 years ago, I would teach everybody to filter their air and filter their water and use non-toxic cleaning products and personal care products. And they still do. Mm-hmm. But post, 2000, maybe 2010, you can't keep up anymore, because the things that are affecting you the most, you do not see. It's the, electric car you're in. It is the Wi-Fi. It is the Bluetooth. It is the radiation. It is the being under lights at an full spectrum. It is the mold in the house. It is the chemicals in the carpet. It is the chemtrails in the sky. It is the 5G towers. So at the end of the day, what we realized is we had to shift gears to do what we call strengthen the host. because you can't filter out the amount of the barrage of stuff that's affecting us all on a daily basis. And what most people do, they go, it's too much, and they do nothing,
Yeah.
because the confused mind does nothing. So we want to always make it simple for people and go, what are simple things you can do? And then also back in the day, I used to, make people wrong a little bit for what they were doing. If I saw somebody that literally had such a gluten intolerance that, not only were they bleeding out their anus, and that we would show them that they're exploding cells in their pons in their brain, and they were fast tracking to Alzheimer's. I mean, and they're like, yeah, but I'm not going to say no to my sourdough bagel. I'm like, wow. So, I used to be like, well, then get out. No, it wasn't that bad. It was like you would just be like, I don't get it. I don't get it. You obviously, they're not. To me, I was thinking they're not committed. And you know what they are? They're just human, and it sucks that it is the way it is. So we shifted gears to, over the last 15 years. It's more like, if you do the crime, you got to do the time. Like, if you're going to eat the gluten, and gluten's not good for you, if you're one of the lucky ones, you're going to need gluten enzymes. Otherwise you're going to have rosacea on your face, and you're going to be bloated, and you're going to have all these different things. If you're going to drink that alcohol, you need the alkaline minerals. If you can eat the creme brulee, you're going to need wheatgrass and barley grass to balance it out. Otherwise, it's not if, it's when you get the thing, whatever the thing is. So I think people like that better, and it's a much more happy environment.
You said that people are only human, and all I could visualize, like, they keep doing this stupid thing, but they're only human. And all I could visualize was that a really beautiful show dog, and in the middle of the show, he leans down and cleans himself. It's like, yeah, he's a dog. What are you going to do?
That is a classically great example. Yes, 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 yes. So, yeah, I mean, the thing, if there's one thing that I would zero everyone in on, is that what health is and what it isn't. The true definition of health is ease in the midst of chaos. That is what health is, because it's not being symptom free. Half of America will die of a heart attack, and yet their first symptom is death, a fatal heart attack. So if you're waiting for like some kind of sign, the sign is usually you taking your last breath. So that's not a good plan. Like, a tumor will grow in a woman's breast for 8 years before it's visible on a mammogram. For 8 years, her doctor's telling her that she's fine, because the exam of the day is not sensitive enough compared to, let's say, thermography, which would tell 8 years earlier if there's a heat pattern that would make somebody want to take a deeper look. So in China, they say, don't wait till you're thirsty to dig a well. It's easier to stay well than it is to get well. So, people are like, oh, prevention. It's really, it's simple these days. It's not easy. It's still work. It's simple to take a look under the hood, if you will, to see what people have going on, coming from the feng shui world like you do, and Chinese medicine. I mean, they're always about feeling your pulses, look at your tongue, look at your nails, look at your eyes, and seeing the window inside. And now with like functional, muscle testing, advancement of functional, even lab testing, you can tell all kinds of things about people. More importantly, what we care about is not just naming shit. We want to find out what to do about it. And like, Mariel brought up in the beginning, it's really about finding the root cause of things. And so the problem is that you've heard this thing, if all you have is a hammer, every problem's a nail. So people will go to a functional medicine doc or nutritionist, or they'll go to a person that does some kind of tapping technique emotionally, and they think they're getting to the root. They're getting deeper, but they're not getting to the root. Now, you may say, oh, there it is. I did that hair analysis. I have that heavy metal. And but a lot of people have that, but they don't have the symptom. So the key is what's causing them to manifest the problem. And not to complicate it, but when people have been to a lot of people, even in the holistic world, and haven't gotten a result, it's because they didn't do the right thing at the right time. Because, there's an order to do things, like a combination to a safe. Not only do you have to be skilled enough to identify what somebody needs, you have to identify what order to do it in. Otherwise, if you have the 6 numbers to a combination of a safe, and you jumble those numbers, you'll never open the safe. You might as well not even have the right numbers, because the right thing done at the wrong time is the wrong thing. And the right thing done at the right time is a miracle. And because the body's miraculous, and it doesn't always need, people say healing takes time. Not always. Sometimes it happens in an instant. If you do the right thing, and that person's ready to let go of whatever their thing is. So, and again, At the end of the day, everyone's a biochemical and mental and emotional and physical individual. There are no two people that are alike. So if you go to a doctor where they're doing the same thing on everybody, it's not the right doctor, or you're only
Right.
going to get so far.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I think that really is the key. It's just like we're not created equal. And you said something that I think is so important for people to really resonate with, is that you have to be ready. Like healing is like, it's timing. Like if
Mhm.
you're ready to get rid of that luggage that you've been carrying around for a long, long time, or you're not ready, you're going to still carry it until you're ready to let go, to put it down. And that's been an interesting journey personally, you know, just letting go of certain things that I wasn't ready to let go of. And also there's you know, I don't know if you come across this at all. Well, I'm sure you do in the NET, but the idea of, um, like, what happens if I get rid of this? Did you come, you know, like
Who
people
am
get
All
I
the
without
time.
it?
the symptoms, you know, or to just being in the drama or the chaos of not being well. You know, I know my mother was like that. So periodically that issue kind of like goes,
It's a bigger deal than you think. People have
yeah,
gotten identity from their health issues, and
yes,
people get attention from having health issues when they're unable to get it before. We see it at a mild degree with a workaholic who's working 12 to 15 hours a day, 6 days to 7 days a week, finally takes a vacation for 2 weeks and spends 2 weeks sick as a dog because they just finally slow down and everything they buried just dump. On a macro sense, you see it because people get something, right? They're missing love in their life, or they're, worse than abuse is neglect. And you'll exponentially develop more health issues if you've been neglected, ignored, not loved, not touched, not hugged, way more than somebody that's beaten, which is really hard to imagine, but it's true. And so what'll happen is people do anything and they'll create anything in their body to have someone that they want to hear the words "I love you" from say "I love you." People will go to the extent to have all the people that they love finally show up and tell them how much they love them, but they got to create something as horrific as cancer to have a 4-stage terminal diagnosis. So everyone shows up, even the people that were holding a grudge, to be by their side and for that person to hear it. And by the time they hear it, the exhaustion on their body and how it's been taken over by what's ravaged them usually is far too gone, and then they're done after that. And I've seen that way too much and way too often. The most, day-to-day thing you see is people that's so thrilled with their diagnosis that it's no different than a pet. Like when you get a new dog and you go, "Oh, look at my dog, isn't he cute?" It's like, "Look at my fibromyalgia, isn't it great? So amazing. It hurts here, it hurts there." It's a thing. Like they want to talk to you about it, but they don't even know what it means. It means nothing. Like even fibromyalgia means fibro means fibrous, myo means muscle, algia means ache. It's a diagnosis of exclusion. It's nothing. And so it means the fibrous part of my muscle aches. Well, why? I don't know. You know what I mean? That's
Yeah.
my diagnosis. And if you look in Latin, die means two and agnosis means don't know. Two people don't know what's going on, you and your doctor, but they want to give it a name, right? They want to give it a name. Because if I have a name, oh, I got a name now. But what's it from? I don't know. What are you gonna do about it? I don't know. But I got it. And then I'm gonna go on the support group on Facebook and I'm gonna listen to all the other people that are not getting better. To share all the things to treat the
wow.
affect rather than get the cause.
It sounds like a geriatric conversation in IHOP. What do you got? I
Yes,
don't know. I
right.
got something though. I'm still alive. How do you know I'm hurting? I'm still alive.
It
Melissa,
sounds like an episode of Jerry Seinfeld,
yeah,
actually.
it, I bet it's coming if it hasn't been done in whatever he's doing next. I mean, yeah, they say a human being cannot talk to another human being over lunch for 20 minutes without somebody bringing up a health issue, either the person bitching about theirs, that person listening to the other person talk about theirs, or them both mutually talking about a friend or a family member they know who has a health issue. It's impossible.
Oh,
Just
I'm
try
going to
it.
time our conversations, Mariel.
Yep.
Going to be
Good luck.
timing them.
Uh-oh.
Wow.
It's kind
Crazy.
of true.
This is amazing information. It really is. I tell you what, I learned something a lot. I learned a lot. You're just a walking Wikipedia. But one thing I was completely surprised was that a tumor will be in a woman's breast for 8 years prior to it being detected.
Even visible.
And
Yeah.
that I never knew that.
I never knew that
And
either.
last time I checked, I'm a woman, and I've never heard it in all my years.
Yeah, it's at a cellular level. Most cancers are, your body has white blood cells eating up cancer cells every day, all the time.
Yeah.
It's just that when your immune system gets overwhelmed and it cannot keep up with the pace, like a conveyor belt. That you ever old Lucille Ball at the conveyor belt.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then it gets, and then it's just overloaded. Yeah, that's your immune system when you just do too much crap, or eat too much crap, or just traumatize
Or think too much crap.
Usually the think too much crap. Yeah.
Wow, that's fascinating. Really is. Okay, so NET, we've talked about everything that you could. I don't know, man.
No, there's more. The thing about NET that has people have the epiphany is what we talk to them about before they do it, and to know that it's going to be profound. So we say there's four rules of it. Number one is your body never lies. I've worked with over 100,000 people doing it. I've never seen one wrong. We're going to find out something that's going on in their life that's triggering them, and we're going to find out something that happened in their past, whether it was when they were younger, whether it was in the womb, whether it was genetically, whatever it was, we're going to find out. It's all stored in there, right? And we just access it. Number two is emotions have no logic. And if emotions were logical, we would use our logical brain, figure out our stuff, and then move on with our life. But that's not what we do. That's what we think we're doing. We're just stuffing it. Number three, and probably the most profound, is that what we're dealing with is emotional reality. It's our perception about what we thought happened when we were 2 or 5 or 12 or whatever. For example, let's say, Mariel, you and I are looking at a quarter, 25-cent piece quarter. You're looking at heads, I'm looking at tails. And I say, are you looking at a quarter? You say, yes. And you say to me, are you? I say, yes. And you're looking at heads. And I go, well, what do you see? And you go, well, I see an old dead president on a silver coin. I'm like, boy, you should get your eyes checked, because I see an eagle on a coin. So you're right about a silver part, but it's definitely an eagle. And then Melissa's looking at both of us like we're idiots, because she's on the side and she sees ridges. She doesn't see an eagle or a president. Now we're all looking at a quarter, right? But we're all looking at something different. And the toughest thing to do in life is have an aerial view, a 360 view about the possibility, what we see is not everything. So if we just subbed it out for a quarter and said different news stations, if somebody was watching NPR, somebody else was watching CNN, and someone else was watching Fox, damn, are we all watching the news? Yeah, but there's some clearly different shit going on in the world.
Yep.
Based on what we're watching. And that could be a parent who's abusive versus another parent who's loving versus another parent that leaves you home alone all the time. They're all parenting. They're all doing it differently, So, and the last thing is, your mind doesn't know the difference between something that's real or something that someone suggested to you is real. And like if we describe a lemon and I cut the lemon in half and I say, stick out your tongue, you do, and I take the lemon and I rub it back and forth on your tongue and I squeeze all the juice until there's no juice in it. It's all in your mouth on your tongue. If you keep listening to me talk about it, you'll have a tart taste in your mouth, which is a physiological change to the human body. But there's no lemon in the room. There's just two people talking. So that's no different than someone saying you have this thing growing in your breast, or you have this thing growing in your uterus, or you have this thing in your artery, or you have this clot in your leg. And now all of a sudden, I developed all the symptoms of it because I Googled what I'm going to get. It's all laid out for me.
Yeah.
Now, would I have it if somebody didn't say anything? Is it, there's no lemon, there's no
Right.
diagnosis.
Right.
If you're living in the jungle, like, oh, I got that malaria thing. No, you're gonna have different than if you went there and you go, hey, you got malaria. Oh my God, I'm gonna die. So there's different outcomes. Yeah. And the other person's eating some bark off a tree because they know they're not going to wait for a doctor to tell them, don't do that bark. That bark in the tree is stupid, even though for 5,000 years, you people have been eating the bark so you don't die of the malaria or whatever it is, right?
Right.
You're going to get all kinds of people typing in, there's no bark for malaria. He doesn't know what he's talking about. Forget it. I'm just kidding.
Question
I'm sure
about,
there's some bark for malaria.
I have a question about NET.
Yes.
And I think I asked you this the first time I saw you. Is it gone forever? That the thing that you like got rid of through the
Yes and no. So what's not gone is that the fact that XYZ happened in your life.
Right.
What is gone forever is the effect that it's having on your body, both physically and emotionally. That's what's gone, related to that emotion. So if, the gym teacher inappropriately touched me when I was 5 or whatever, that event still happened. But the negative effect on my health and body from suppressing it is not there anymore once you clear it. Now, like many other things, you can get the anger from it and the resentment from it, but there could be abandonment and no one checked that. Because it's not the offender, it's the person who wasn't there to save me from that person. So that's when someone gets better, but they don't get better all the way. Because in Chinese medicine, it's called surround the dragon. You need to really go after every nuance of what could have happened. So, there's a science, art, and philosophy to all of it, whether it's chiropractic or NET or it's even nutrition. There's a science, which is this is how you do it, and then there's the philosophy is this is why it makes sense to do it, and then there's the art, which is how you do it. Whether you're an actor or you could be a great actor and be an artist, or you could be a poor actor and not really be an artist, right? So, you have to kind of have all, like the great ones have all three going and acknowledge that all three sides need to be worked on because it's a fluid thing. Now, if all you're doing is writing scripts for drugs, for Viagra all day long for somebody, there's not much art there. You don't even have to have good penmanship. You could just have a blue script and they'll know which pill it is. I mean, really, it could be
and shag carpet. We're
check mark.
done. That's some shag.
I like that. That's good. That'll do it.
Oh my gosh, it's so good. You got to.
Well, don't think I'm not going to use Surround the Dragon. I got to figure out a way to incorporate Surround the Dragon in a lot of my conversations now.
It's the year of the dragon.
It is the year of the dragon.
She lit up when you said that. I saw her. She was like,
I immediately wrote it down. Surround the Dragon.
You're talking my language now. Hey, so Howie, we only go for a short time. So
okay, we're out of time.
But it means that you got to come back because this is
okay.
So fascinating. I love it. I love it. I love it. Thank you so much. You're totally amazing, and I can't wait to have another session.
Well, thanks.
I was going to say there's like layers of stuff. Like, you're saying surround the dragon, but it's like an onion peel. It's like, okay, so you've got this part, but we need to get to that part. But what was it? And I'll close this off, but what was interesting being in your office is that you also ask the body to tell you when it's done, when it's had enough.
Yes.
Like it can't do any that day.
There's a saturation point that people have. Yeah. It's kind of like if your health journey is climbing Mount Everest, nobody climbs it in a day, but they get to what's called like a summit, they get to a base camp. Now, if you don't get to the base camp, you're going to freeze to death. Or if you think you need to go to 2 base camps at once, you're going to overdo it and you're going to freeze to death. You just got to get to that base camp and allow your body to reboot and process. And then you go to the next thing.
And go to
You
the
know,
next level. I just love it. Your
the
work
process.
is
I'm going to need to get an appointment because I need help with my crouching tiger. I was waiting for that.
I love it. I love it. I
So
love
good.
it. You know what we're gonna have to do. One of you guys are gonna have to be, whether it's you or Bobby, is gonna have to be the first person to get NET done in the stratosphere.
Ooh, that's
I would
smart.
be
Super cool.
fascinated to see what the ascension and descension brings up in somebody.
Ooh, that's
Viscerally.
super cool.
Yeah.
Well, it's
Yeah.
so interesting how the neural check changes. Like you go in and then you
Yes.
come out and all of a sudden all your markers are totally different. So I imagine doing NET, doing the emotional one, that's cool. Yeah.
You
that
know what we
would
should
be
do
cool.
then? Next time before your boy Bobby gets in the chamber, we should do his neural check and then do some NET on him and then check him after and see what that beautiful mind of his does.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Just don't make him 20. He's annoying enough already. He's like 60 and he like measures 32. But I didn't
I'm
measure
sure he
so
wants to
badly
be a
last time. So I
teenager.
think it's pretty good.
It's great.
Oh, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us today. You're amazing, and we're gonna have you back.
All right, this was fun. So great to be with you guys, and it's amazing. Have a great day. And if I leave anybody with anything, there are no incurable diseases. There are only incurable people. If you want to get better, you can. You just gotta subscribe to the things that are available to do it. And it takes a village. It takes like the things that you guys are doing up in your place. We're doing a lot of things down here. And build your tribe of people that are going to keep you going, because we're all on the back 9.
Love
I
it.
love it. That's awesome. Thank you so much.
Awesome.
Hi, I'm JJ Flazanes. I'm an empowerment strategist and the creator of the Empowering Minds Network. I specialize in helping people to rewire their core wound patterns by creating their core wound map. And you can find out more information about my podcasts and about what I'm doing at jjflazanes.com. And you're listening to Out Comes the Sun with Mariel Hemingway and Melissa Yamaguchi.
Oh my God, that was so much fun.
Well,
yeah.
I mean, he's got so much information. I know that he was ready to unleash a lot more, and my brain was starting to like vibrate. So, but I'll tell you what, 2 words I did not have on my bingo card today in conjunction: bleeding anus. Didn't know that was going to happen.
God, I thought you were gonna text me.
I listen. I wrote it. I wrote it down. I was like, yeah, that's
I know. I was like, oh, that's rough.
Yep. But you know what? I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued, and I've heard about his modalities and his treatments and his techniques, and I've learned about him in more depth with you. But a lot of it, I thought my brain was churning, and I had a million questions. But he's so full of information, I didn't want to stop him. I mean, if it's in your genetics, right? Mm-hmm. And they say that your maternal grandmother carried you in her womb. So if there's a second generation coming down, that some of that stuff is still harboring around in your cellular make, I mean, how far back does it go? Is it only grandparents?
I have done NET where it was, another generation. It was brought in. It was pre-birth. And that's very interesting. It hasn't happened very often. I think it only happened once, and I found it fascinating. But what's very interesting about doing the work is that as woo-woo as it sounds, when it's right, you feel it.
Oh yeah, I bet.
Like, like you feel it. It just like settles.
Yeah.
And you don't quite know why or what, but it's like a light goes on. So it's very interesting. Anyway, I just think that is fascinating, and we have to talk to him more, because
we do.
You know what I love too is that he ended it by saying there are no incurable diseases. There are only incurable people, so meaning it's really about your attitude, your intention, and whether you're coming in wanting to heal, wanting to get to the bottom of whatever issue is. And that's not an accusation of somebody who's struggling with something, because I know how hard it is to struggle with things, because I'm still struggling with things in my life that but I know that I'm getting closer through these kinds of modalities. I know that I get closer and closer and closer, and that's all you can do. And I just want to say to everybody who's listening, be patient with yourself, be kind to yourself, because, healing is a journey. But he's so right. Get your tribe together. I have you as a best friend. I have, Bobby, who's an amazing, partner for me, and you have Billy and your kids and whatever. But those things matter.
Yeah, they do.
You have people that are like rooting for you,
cheering you on. And the other thing is you are worth investing in.
Yeah.
You're
absolutely.
worth invest. It's worth it to invest in yourself. The better I am to me, the better I can be to you.
100%. Well, thank you, everyone. This has been such a good show. I'm so excited. You're listening to Out Comes the Sun with Melissa Yamaguchi and myself, Mariel Hemingway. And remember that we're always doing this for the Mariel Hemingway Foundation.org, which is really what we want to become. And we are slowly, like the little train that could, becoming that is a resource navigator. So we just want to help people find the resource that they need for any mental health issue that they may be, dealing with, whether it's addiction or suicide ideation or different, mental illnesses, whatever it is. We want to be able to direct you to the best possible resource for you. Anyway, that's the dream.
Mariel, I'd like to pop something off real quick before you close.
Please.
I'd like to challenge our audience that if you know of people that you believe, you've watched our show, you've been part of our audience, a part of us, and you see who we bring on as our guests, you know the directions that we're heading when it comes to taking care of the body, mind, and spirit. If you know of someone, then reach out to either Mariel or me. Reach out to us through Instagram. DM is easy. Get a hold of one of us and let us know, hey, please look into this doctor. Check out this person.
Yes.
We're always looking to build our repertoire of people that we can resource for other people. So send them our way.
100%. Thank you so much for that, Melissa. And thank you all so much for listening again. And we'll see you, hear you, or you'll be with you or something next time.